The Diocese of Tirhan was a diocese of the Church of the East's province of the Patriarch. The diocese is attested between the 6th and 14th centuries. History. The Nestorian Diocese of Tirhan was founded in the 6th century, probably to counter the influence of the important Jacobite centre of Tigrit. The first known bishop of Tirhan, Barnun, was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Abarai in 544. The Tirhan district lay to the southwest of Beth Garmai, and included the triangle of land between the Jabal Hamran and the Tigris and Diyala rivers. Its chief town was Gibilda. The Diocese of Tirhan was probably included in the province of the Patriarch instead of the province of Beth Garmai because Seleucia Ctesiphon was closer to Gibilda than Kirkuk, and could be conveniently reached by water. The bishops Libazedkha of Tirhan, who flourished during the reign of the Patriarch Yaquob secured permission from the Jacobite authorities for the construction of a Nestorian church in Tigrit, in return for the restoration to the Jacobites of a church in Nisibis that had earlier been confiscated by the Nestorians. The last known bishop of Tirhan, Shemon, subscribed to the Acts of the Synod of Timothy II in 1318. The diocese probably lapsed around the middle of the 14th century, and is certainly unlikely to have survived into the 15th century. The centuries-old status of Tigrit as the residence of the Jacobite Maphrians was ended in 1393, when the town was destroyed by Timur-Lenk. Timur's troops also devastated the Tirhan district. These campaigns scattered the surviving Christian communities in Tirhan, and there are no later references to either Nestorian or Jacobite Christians in the district. Bishops of Tirhan. The Bishop Barnun of Tirhan was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Abarai in 544. The Bishop Abraham of Tirhan was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Ishoyhbi in 585. The Bishop Peroz of Tirhan was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Gregory in 605. The Bishop Sargus of Tirhan was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Daran in 676. The Bishop Ithian of Tirhan was appointed by the Patriarchs Libazedkha. He was elected Patriarch in 731. The bishops Libazedkha of Tirhan flourished during the reign of the Patriarch Yaquob. He is first mentioned in 753, when he was imprisoned along with Yaquob during the brief reign of the anti-patriarchs Uran. After his release he began to restore the churches in Tirhan, and also won permission from the Jacobite authorities for the construction of a Nestorian church in Tigrit, in return for the restoration to the Jacobites of the Church of Mar Domitius in Nisibis. This agreement, which required the consent of the Jacobite Maphrian Paul of Tigrit and the Nestorian Metropolitan Cyprian of Nisibis, must have been concluded no later than 757, the date of Paul's death. The bishops Libazedkha of Tirhan, almost certainly the same man, was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Timothy in 790. The Patriarch Sargus appointed his disciple Karyama bishop of Tirhan, and later appointed him Metropolitan of Nisibis, replacing him as bishop of Tirhan with the teacher Yohanan. The future Patriarch Eliyahu was bishop of Tirhan when Eliyahu completed his chronography in 1018/19, and was commended by him as a profound and experienced student of church doctrine and the art of rhetoric. The bishop Makika, son of Shliman of Tirhan, was consecrated by the Patriarch Sabrisho III shortly after his consecration in 1063 quarters. He was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Abdasho II in 1074. He was consecrated Metropolitan of Mosul by Abd-Allah in 1085, following the death of the Metropolitan Abd-Allah of Mosul, and became Patriarch in 1092 on Abd-Allah's death. The Bishop Abd-Allah of Tirhan was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Makki in 1092. The Bishop Nasser of Tirhan was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Sabrisho IV in 1222. The Bishop and Archdeacon Isho of Al-Hazra, a town to the south of Samarra which Fi'i argued was then the seat of the bishops of Tirhan, was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Makki II in 1257. The Bishop and Archdeacon Emmanuel of Tirhan was present at the consecration of the Patriarch-The in 1265. The Bishop and Archdeacon Brikasho of Tirhan was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Abd-Allah III in 1281. The Bishop Shimon of Tirhan was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Timothy II in 1318. Topographical survey. There were several important areas of Christian settlement in the Tirhan district, including the towns of Awana, Jibilda, Karkadipiros, Tigrit and Samarra, and the smaller localities of Harbor and Aldh. The Nestorian ascetic Mar Sabrisho of Beth-Qoqa, who founded the celebrated monastery of Beth-Qoqa near Erbil towards the end of the 6th century, was a native of Awana. Shardust of Tirhan was a noted Nestorian author, probably of the 7th or 8th century, who wrote a polemical work on the reasons for the separation between the Easterners and the Westerners. Shardust is included in the famous list of Nestorian authors compiled at the start of the 14th century by the Metropolitan Abd-Allah Bar Brika of Nisibis. Jibilda, described by Thomas of Marga as an Orthodox town in the district of Tirhan, was the birthplace of Kyriakos, the Nestorian bishop of Balad c. 800, and of Rabban Babai, famous as a teacher and builder of schools in the early decades of the 8th century. The Nestorian Patriarch Slibazkha was a native of Karkadipiros at Karkani in the Tirhan district. Tigrit, the seat of the Jacobite Mafrians since the 7th century, had a small Nestorian community, first mentioned around the middle of the 8th century. In 757 or a little earlier, the Jacobite authorities granted the Nestorians permission to build a church in Tigrit in return for the restoration of the Church of Mar Domitius in Nisibis, a Jacobite church confiscated by the Nestorians several decades earlier. Construction of the Nestorian church began in 767 on a site by the Tigris adjacent to the city's outer wall, and the church was still in existence towards the end of the 13th century, when it was remarked upon by Bar Hebraeus. The Nestorian community in Tigrit was never large. It probably survived until 1393, when the city was sacked by Timur-Lenk. Tigrit is not mentioned again as a Christian center, and both its Nestorian and Jacobite communities were probably destroyed at this period. The Patriarch Makki, who was earlier Bishop of Tirhan, is said to have performed a miracle to rid the Tirhan district of a lion that was infesting the countryside around Harbor and Aldh. He also cursed a Muslim who had taken stones from a Christian church in Samarra to build a mosque, and his curse resulted in the offender's death 7 days later.